येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Southern Division. We have been discussing the overviews of the other ingredients, samagri bhavs, beginning with vibhav, anubhav. Today we will be beginning the Sattviki bhav, and then after the Sattviki bhav is over, we will discuss the Sanchari bhav or the Vyabhichari bhav. And then we will begin the discussion on the verse by verse on the Stahi Bhav. So yesterday we saw the overview of what is Anubhav. That which follows the Vibhav is Anubhav. You know? And it is the external symptoms of the Bhava which is there, which is manifested in the form of dancing, singing, drolling. So that is the definition, and how it is technically different from the Sattviki bhavs. The Anubhavas are voluntary actions. The Sattviki bhavs are involuntary actions. So that's the only technical difference. And then there is two categorizations, Sita and Shepana. And in Shita there are some, in Shepana there are some, and for each Rupa Goswami gives scriptural references, which we did not go into, but we just few of the examples we saw, and that's how he discusses the Anubhava. Today we will be having again an overview of Sattviki Bhav, and having understood more in detail the Sattviki Bhav, you'll also more better understand the difference between Sattviki Bhav and Sattvika Bhav and the Anubhav. So that's one added advantage you'll have. Okay, now this is the complete table of contents of Sattvika Bhav. There is first the definition of Sattva and Sattvika Bhav. And there are types. There are types of Sattvik Bhav. Snigdha, experienced by devotees related to rasa. This is primary and secondary. Digdha is experienced by devotees not directly related to rasa with Krishna. And ruksha is experienced by a person with ratyabhas. Again, all this will become clear when we will be today discussing these three, snigdha, digdha, and ruksha. And then there are these eight sattvic transformations: stamba, paralysis; sveda, perspiration; romancha, horripation; swarna bheda, swara bheda, faltering of the voice; veputa or kampa, shivering; vaivarnya, pallor or the color changing; ashru, tears; and pralaya, devastation, unconsciousness. So these are the eight Ashtasattvic Vikas. Of course, we will, in the overview, not going into each of the details and scriptural references, which is there in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu verse by verse discussion, but we'll just touch upon it. And after discussing these eight Sattvic Bhavs, Rupa Goswami mentions now there are intensities in which they manifest. First is called as the Dhumaita, that is the smoky, where one sattvic bhav is manifested, which can be considered. Then there is Jvalita, luminous. Two or three sattvic bhavs at once, concealed with difficulty, like hairs are standing on end, tears are coming, and there is, kampan. So two or three manifest at the same time, and still you can conceal it, but with difficulty. But Dipta means brilliant. 3 to 5 sattvic bhavs at once manifest. Then it is difficult to conceal. And Uddipta is very brilliant. 5 or more sattvic bhavs at once. And Suddipta is supremely brilliant, intense Uddipta state in Mahabhav. So this is only exhibited by Mahaprabhu and Srimati Radharani. So there is the intensity of 1, 2 or 3, 5, more than 5, like that. There is the intensity. Then after, explaining this, Rupa Goswami goes into, because these can be imitated. So what are the false forms of Sattvic Bhav? He discusses in the last part. He says, Ratyabhas Bhava Sattvika Bhas, generated by Ratyabhas. It's not real Rati, but just an Abhas of Rati. And Sattvabhas Bhava Sattviki Bhavas, generated by the touch of emotions, Sattva. And Nisattva, generated by practice. Like actors, can act crying, although there is no such occasion, but they can manifest that. So there is Nisattva, generated by practice. And Pratipa is generated in enemies of Krishna. Even the enemies while fighting, hairs can stand on end, but it is not because of love for Krishna. It is because of enmity. But because the object is Krishna, so there are some, sattvika bhavs, which they manifest, but they are called as pratipa. So that's the syllabus. And in this, we will be today seeing these definitions. We will just touch upon these eight. Everyone is quite familiar, I think, with these eight. And we will not go into the scriptural references. But again, we will go into this also. Dhumaita, Jwalita, Dipta, Udipta. And this is very important. We will also discuss this in detail. So looks like it will take around 2 classes to discuss this overview. Let's begin now. Again from Jaiva Dharma, chapter 27, further considerations of Rasa Tattva. Okay. Now, further, as I mentioned, Vijay Kumar and Brajanath are discussing with their spiritual master, Gopal Guru Goswami in Jagannath Puri. So they asked about Anubhav. Now they are going to ask about Sattvic Vikar. After a while, they set forth further inquiries. Srila Goswami, what is Sattvic Vikar? Goswami. Now, please mark and understand. Just a minute. There is some distraction. So when the purified consciousness known as Chitta. So here Chitta is actually when the consciousness is completely purified. There are no vasanas in the heart. Heart means in the subtle body where the vasanas reside. full Cheto Darpan Marjanam has happened and the Chit is completely purified. So when the purified consciousness known as Chitta is under siege by any kind of bhava, either directly or indirectly, this state of the Chitta is described as Sattva. Shuddha Sattva, Visheshatma, Prema Suryansha, Prema Suryansha Bhak. That is also the definition of Bhava Bhakti. So Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma, Prema Suryansha. It's a ray of Prema. The range of emotions directly produced by this state of Sattva is called Sattvik, Sattvik Bhava. So the emotions which are manifesting from the soul and not from the mind. We are all having experience in this world of the mind's emotions of fear, anger, attraction, all that, and lamentation and tears coming. All these are material emotions. But the emotions which manifest from the chitta, purified consciousness, when it is under the siege of any kind of bhav, vira bhav, then there is tears, and that is described as sattva. And the range of emotions are directly produced by this state is called as sattva, and that's why it is called sattvic bhav. Now, sattva here doesn't mean, please remember the mode of goodness. Huh? Sattva is transcendental here. There are three kinds: snigdha, wet; digdha, moist; and ruksha, dry. So here also we saw in this snigdha, digdha, ruksh, wet, moist, and dry. So that's what the term says: wet, moist, and dry. Vajranath, kindly explain these three sattvic bhavs. Goswami. Snigdha sattvic bhav is divided into mukhya, principal, and gaun, subsidiary. When the heart is flooded with Mukhyarati, a direct mood of loving Krishna, Mukhya Snigdha Sattvic Bhav is expressed to Stambha, paralysis, Sveda, perspiration, and other principal symptoms. So the Snigdha is, divided into two, Mukhya and Gauna. And when the heart is flooded with Mukhyarati, so Mukhyarati refers to Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. These are the Mukhyaratis, the primary rasas. So when they are in connection with the primary rasas, they are called as Mukhya Snigdha Sattvic Bhav. And then they are expressed through these Ashta Sattvic Vikars. It's very simple, Snigdha Sattvic Bhav. Okay. Now, where Rati is slightly indirect or obstructed, for instance, when Krishna is at a distance, it is called Gauna Rati, which produces Gauna Snigdha Sattvic Bhav. The two main symptoms being Vaivarnya, pallor, and Swarabhange, apasia, which causes symptoms such as faltering of the voice. So the Gauna it is indirect when Krishna is at a distance. So let us see more in detail, when we go by verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If besides Mukh and Gaunrati, other loving symptoms accost the heart, then the lukewarm bhav of Rati, Digdha Sattvic bhav, is manifested to Kampa, shivering. Further, if an ostensible devotional person, that is, the enemies, or they're not enemies exactly, they're not favorable, who does not possess true Rati, he doesn't have bhava for the Lord, is struck with joy and astonishment by hearing the wonderful qualities and pastimes of Krishna, which then leads to Ananda, he experiences Ruksh Bhav, dry emotions. Romancha, horrorless vision is an example. Just like somebody who has come new to the temple, he's sitting in the temple and he hears the, Putana pastime. Oh, how merciful is Krishna, he's struck. And being struck, he just hair stand on his end. So it doesn't mean that he has bhava for the Lord. He just come first time to the temple. But he doesn't possess true rati, but he's struck by hearing the wonderful pastimes of Krishna. and he becomes a little happy. So he's experiencing Ruksha Bhav. So I think Ruksh Bhav is more clear to devotees, and Snigdha is more clear, Mukhya and Gauna. And Gaun is, I'm sure it is not so clear to the devotees. Uh, Kindly hold for some time. When we come to the verse by verse discussion, it will become clear. And what is Digdha? Snigdha ke baad Digdha hai. What is, besides the Mukhya and Gaun, other loving sentiments across the heart, then the lukewarm bhava vrati, digna is manifested through kampa shivering. So again, what this also is, digna might not be clear for you at this point, but again, we'll wait till we see the verse by verse discussion. Okay, now, how are the sattvic bhavs produced? Now, when the chitta of the sadhaka who is immersed in sattvic bhav, pure spiritual emotion, please mark again here, it is pure spiritual motion, is united with the prana, the bodily life energy, then the prana is placed in an abnormal condition which causes perturbations in the external body. As a result, symptoms like paralysis, perspiration, etc. are manifested. So, the basic thing is there is the soul, there is the subtle body, and there is the gross body. And in the mind, we have fear, and because of fear we start sweating. So the mind is the pivot between the soul and the gross body, and it is through the mind uh, which acts like a pivot, the symptoms manifest in the subtle body, gross body, sorry, like I explained the fear example. Now, for the soul which is experiencing ecstasy, the mind also is a pivot. And within the connection with the subtle body and the gross body is the pranas, the bodily airs. And the soul which is experiencing these emotions of viraha, that interacts with the prana element. And the prana element is disturbed, and that's why that disturbs the gross body elements. And that's why there are symptoms like tears coming. So that's how it happens. That's how, how they are produced. Rajanath, how many types of sattvic vikar, ecstatic transformations are there? There are 8. Stamba, paralysis, sweda, perspiration, romancha, horripation, swarabe, the faltering of the voice, veputa, kampa, shivering, vaivarna, pallor, ashru, tears, and pralaya, devastation or unconsciousness. So this is what in summary is sattvic vikars. Okay, now I will now continue with Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We have just heard about the sattvic bhavas, that what is sattvic bhav and what are the types in it, and how it is manifested, and uh, what are the 8 types of transformations. Now, having this background, we will study Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and get a much clearer understanding. Okay. Now, even if you have questions, hold on, because when we discuss this, it will become more clear. Krishna sambandhibhi sakshat kinchit va vyavadhanata bhaveschittam iha krantam sattvam it uchyate budhe. On the topic of rasa, iha krantam, when the heart, chittam, becomes overwhelmed, vyavadhanata, by ratis or bhaves, in relation to Krishna sambandhi, either directly or indirectly, sakshat kinchit va, sometimes directly or va, indirectly. The learned Buddha call this sattva. Sattvam iti uchyate. So I mentioned this sattva is actually when the chit is completely purified. So this is not material goodness, it is Shuddha Sattva. Okay. Now further, Rupa Goswami says, Sattvadasmat samutpanna ye bhavaste tu satvikaha signa digda sataruksha it ami trividha mata. The transformations which ye bhavas arise, samutpanna, utpanna means they have arisen fully, solely from this sattva. Sattvadasmat are called satvika bhavs. Ye tu satvika. So the transformations which arise from the sattva, again here sattva is the purified consciousness, please remember that. And then there are three types of sattvic bhavs. Iti ami trividha mata, snigdha, affectionate, arising from genuine rati. Digdha, tainted, arising from other emotions. So snigdha is because of genuine rati. And it is it is tainted. It's arising from other emotions. Digdas and ruksha, contaminated, arising in a person without rati, tata ruksha. So let's go into these three and get a clear understanding, and then I will take up questions. Okay. So there are these three: snigdha, affectionate, arising from genuine rati; digdha, tainted, arising from other emotions; ruksha, contaminated, arising in person without rati. Okay, Jiva Goswami gives his commentary on this. In this definition, it should be understood that transformations arising from sattva asmat samutpanna, should really mean transformation arising solely from sattva. This is because the anubhavas such as dancing also arise from sattva, heart, overwhelming mati, but in combination with the intelligence. So this is the difference between anubhavas and sattviki bhavas, sattvika bhava. The anubhavas also arise from the sattva only of the heart, overwhelmed by lati. But there is voluntary action in the form of opening of the arms to embrace, all that, or the dancing. The emotions which are in the heart are not contained, and externally it is manifested by you dancing. So there is voluntary, use of the intelligence. But the Ashta-sattvic vibhars, you don't say now tears start rolling from my eyes and the tears, they'll follow. No, they are not under your control. The sattvika bhavas, such as being stunned, arise from sattva alone with no help from intelligence. So that is the difference between the two. Thus, there is no overlapping of items between anubhava and sattvika. So that's why anubhava is one ingredient and sattvika bhava is another ingredient. So the two are not the same. They are two different ingredients. In halwa, there is dressing in the form of toppings added in the form of kaju and badam. Now, kaju and badam are both dry fruits, but they have distinct taste and they embellish the halwa. So, although they are in the dry fruit category, but they are two different dry fruits. So, anubhava and sattvika are two different. Note, sattvikas can be defined as completely spontaneous transformations of body without use of intellect. Another meaning of sattvika is nature unaffected by other elements. Prabhupada also explains this. When a devotee is always intensely affected by love for Krishna in a direct relationship with him, or even a little part of him, his status is called extensional ecstatic love. Extensional ecstatic love is another name for Sattvik Bhav. Sattvik Bhav is called as extensional ecstatic love. That's the English terminology. The symptoms originating from such extensional ecstatic love are divided into three headings, namely moist, burnt, dried up. So the moist is digna, snigdha, the burnt is digdha, and dried up is ruksha. So that's how Prabhupada is using the English equivalents. Okay, now when we come to the snigdha, the digdha, and the ruksha, you will have a better, clear understanding. And that time I'll take up questions. Tatra snigdha. Signastu Satvika Mukya Gaunash Cheti Dvidamata. Snigdha Satvik Bhav, Snigdha Satvika has two divisions, principal and secondary. So here I have put in Satviki Bhavs, there is Snigdha, Tigdha and Ruksha. Moist, what is the term Prabhupada used? Burnt. Moist, burnt and dried. Whereas Bhaktivinoda Thakur said wet, moist and dry. So that's all. So in this Snigdha, there are two, Mukhya and Gaun. There are two, principal and secondary. Okay, let's go to Mukhya. Tatra Mukhya. Akraman Mukhyaya Ratya. Mukhya Siv Satvika Ami Vigyeya Krishna Sambandha Sakshad Evatra Surubhi. The principal Satvik Bhavas, Mukhya Siv Satvika Ami, arise from principal Rati. Akramam Mukhya Rata. The wise Suribhi call Vigyeha this relationship with Krishna direct. Krishna Sambandha Sakshat Evatra. So the basic thing in Mukhya Satvika Bhavas is that they arise from the Mukhya Rati. Mukhya Rati are what? Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. Okay, Jiva Goswami. The nature of Snigdha Satvika Bhav is that the heart is overcome by either the principal or the secondary threes, which will be explained. Snigdha means the heart is overcome directly by the Mukhya or the Gaun. In general, the characteristics of all Snigdha Satvika Bhavas should be understood in this way. The heart should be agitated by any one of these types of ratis. Now, let's take the example of the Snigdha Satvika Bhava. Then we'll come to the Mukhya and the Gauna. Please remember. Yatha. Kunder Mukundaya Muda Srijanti Srijam Varam Kundavidam Vidanti Babuva Gandharva Rasana Venur Gandharvika Spandana Shunya Gatri. Radha's name is Gandharvika. It's a very beautiful name, Gandharvika. And the deities are Gandharvika Giridhari, whose teeth were whiter than the Kunda flower. Srijam Varam Kunda Vidambi Danti. Danti means the teeth. While making Srijanti an excellent garland of Kunda flowers. So her teeth are like the Kunda flower, white, and she's making garlands of Kunda flowers. This is how the poetic way of describing Kavya Shastra is. And she was making for a who? For Mukunda. Mukundaya heard a sweet song of the flute. Babuva Gandharva Rasanena Venu. She became stunned. Spandana Shunya Gatri. She was just stunned hearing the Venu. Now, let's go into the explanation. Oh, there's no explanation for this, huh? Okay. Here the explanation is in the next verse. Mukhya stamba ayam ityam te geha svedadayo picha. In this example, ityam, this example means this Radharani example of suddenly being stunned. Being stunned, stamba ayam is a principal snigdha satviki bhav, mukhya. Since it arises from the principal rati, madhurya rati. Because Venu attracts the gopis. Because theirs is madhurya ras. In the same way, Ittamte, the appearance of Advar Satvik Bhavs, such as perspiring, Svedadayo, Picha, should be understood. So, if there is stamba, there can be perspiration also. Like Krishna is leaving Vrindavan, Akrura is taking and the gopis come, and tears are coming from their eyes. These tears which are coming, the Ashtasattvic Vikars, are because of the Mukhya Rati. And the Gopas, Krishna friends also, are feeling separation. Tears are coming from their eyes. But that is from which principle Mukyarati? Anyone knows? Raise your hands. In this example, what I'm explaining, Krishna is being taken by Akrura from Vrindavan to Mathura. And the gopis feeling separation because of the rati which they have in the heart, tears start coming. These tears are Ashtasattvic vikars. And this is coming from the Mukhya rati, that is the Madhurya ras. Now the gopas also are there and they are also feeling separation and tears are coming, the Ashtasattvic. But it is from which rati, Mukhya rati is my question. Sadhu Sevan Prabhuji.
It is from the Sakya Bhava, fraternity.
Yes, it is from the Sakyaras. And the Gopas, elderly Gopas, they are also feeling separation. That is which?
That is Vatsalya.
Vatsalya. Yes, very simple it is. Yes. So I hope you understood what is the Mukhya Snigdha Sattvika Bhava. Okay, now Ata Gaunam. Ratyakramanatah Prokta Gaunaste Gauna Bhutaya Atra Krishnasya Sambandhasya Kinchit Vyavadhanata. Secondary Snigdha Satviki Bhava, Ata Gauna. Satviki bhavs ratyakramananta, which arise from the secondary rati, te gauna bhutaya, is called secondary snigdha satviki bhavs, prokta gaunas. The relationship with Krishna, atra Krishna sambandha, is somewhat indirect. Syat kinchit vyavadhanata. It is somewhat indirect. Okay, let's come to the example and then it will become yatha. When Krishna, Purushottame Pura, the rain cloud, Ambude, for the Chataka birds of her eyes, Swavilochana Chataka, was brought to Mathura, Puri Nite, Yashoda, Gokuleshwari, turned red-faced in anger. Ati Tamra Mukhi began to scold Nand Maharaj, Nripam Akroshati, with a choked voice, Sa Gad Gadam. In this example, Imo, the change of color, Vaivarnya, and choked voice of Yashoda, Swarna Bhedo, because Vaivarna and Swarna, Swara Bhedo, that's why it is Devachan, together, na, it is, has been caused by the secondary rati of anger, Gauna, Krodha rati. So there are these 7 Gauna ratis, Krodha and Hasya, Karuna, but it is somewhat indirect. Now, Nand Maharaj with, Krishna and Balram and some of the Gopals had gone to Mathura. He had just gone for attending that festival, the Dhanur Yagya. And Krishna did not come back to Vrindavan. Mother Yashoda had not gone. When Nand Maharaj came back without Krishna, Mother Yashoda was having Vatsalya rest for the Lord and she became angry. Why did you not come back with Krishna? And that's why, anger manifested, Kraudharati. And that anger, because of the anger, there were 2 Ashtasatvika vikars, Vaivarna and choked voice. But it is arising from Krodharati, but it is still indirect because Krishna is not there right in front. Please remember, Krishna is already in Mathura and Nand Maharaj has come. And her anger is directed towards Nand Maharaj. It's not directly directed towards Krishna. Overcome with Krodharati, a second Rati, Yashoda had changed in her color and voice. These Sattvika bhavs are classed as secondary. It is indirectly related to Krishna because the anger is not directed to Krishna but to Nanda. So I hope you got this post. Moist, existential, ecstatic love aroused in Krishna, aroused in connection with Krishna is divided into 2, direct and indirect. We saw that. Snigdha is Mukhya or Gauna. Then Radharani's example is explained, and then indirect example is Krishna, who is also called Purushottama, is the eyes of Mother Yashoda, just like the cloud is the eyes of the Chataka birds. When Krishna had been brought to Mathura, Mother Yashoda, being very anxious and angry, began to rebuke the king of Mathura because he went to Mathura and Mother Yashoda could not see Krishna now. So that's how. Okay, regarding Snigdha, do you have any questions? Snigdha, Mukhya and Gaun. Any questions you have regarding the Snigdha, Mukhya and the Gaun? Okay, so then we will take up the Digdha. Now, please understand this Digdha. It is a little, you have to carefully hear it. Ratidvaya vina bhuter bhaver manasa akramat jane jatarato digdas te ched rat anugamina. When the heart of a person who possesses genuine rati, jane jatarato. Now, please remember, this person has rati. Rati means bhava. He has pure love for the Lord. Is overcome by an emotion, bhaver manasa akramant. Other than the primary or secondary rati, rati dvaya vina bhuter. So he is not overcome neither by the primary nor the secondary. Now, Mother Yashoda has genuine Vatsalya rati for Krishna, and she became overcome by a secondary rati, that is anger. And there was Ashtasattvic manifestations of change of color, and there was choking of the voice. So it should be overcome by other emotion other than the primary or the secondary in case of Digda. And if this emotion appears along with a genuine rati, Ratya Anugamini, it is called Digda Sattvik Bhav, Digda Stay Chet. Now, again, it is a little confusing. Don't worry. When I explain the example, you will clearly understand it. Yatha. Putanam iha nishamya nishayam sa nishanta lutat ud bhata gatrim kampitanga latika vrajrajni putram akul matir vichinnuti. One time Yashoda, Vraja Ragni. Ragni is the, cowherd lady, cowherd princess. While dreaming at night, Nishamya Nishayam. Nishamya means in the night. Nishayam means when she was sleeping, dreaming. Saw a huge body of Putana. Putana Namiha rolling on the ground in her house. Nishant Luthat. Her body, Kampitanga Latika, began shaking. Udbhata Gatarim. Then, in great agitation, Akulamatir, she began to search for Krishna. Putram Vichi Noti. So, here you can see, first thing is Mother Yashoda has Vatsalya Ras. She has genuine rati. Now, in the dream, she sees Putana because that incident has happened of the Putana killing, how horrifying she is. And after a few days, maybe, she's sleeping and suddenly she sees this Putana huge body rolling on the ground in her house. And now she's experiencing Ashtasattvic Vikars. What? Her body is shaking, Kampan. And this shaking of the body is neither directly related to Mukhyarati or Gaunarati with respect to Krishna. It is related to the dream of Putana. And she's manifesting these Ashtasattvic Vikars of the body shaking. But it is in relation to Krishna in a sense that it is for Krishna. It is for Krishna only. And that is why now her attraction for Krishna increases and she immediately starts searching, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? So that is what is happening here. Let's try to understand this clearly with Jiva Goswamis. This verse describes what happened in Yashoda's dream. Since there is no scriptural description of the real event happening in her house, it's in the dream. Because of the bewilderment caused by the dream, she immediately developed fear for Krishna. Oh, where is my Krishna? And accompanying secondary Rati, because of not seeing him present. She began to shake because of seeing in a dream the body of Putana rolling around in her house. Thus, the Sattvika Bhāva did not arise either from primary or secondary. It was neither directly from the Vatsalya Rati or not for the Krodha. It was because of the dream. So this Sattviki Bhāva arise neither from the primary nor the secondary, but there were Sattviki Bhavas. But they were in relation to Krishna, please remember that. But they were not arising from the primary or the secondary. So that's what the definition is. When the heart of a person who possesses genuine Ratri is overcome by an emotion other than the primary or secondary Ratri, and if this emotion appears along with the genuine Rati, it is called Digd Satvik. Mother Yatosha has genuine love for Krishna, and that's why she goes and search where is Krishna. Then she began to search for Krishna. So that, Vatsalya Ras for Krishna is there for her, and that's why she's searching for Krishna. This indicates an appearance of her genuine Rati along with Satvik. There is a Satviki Bhava of fear, Kampan in her body, but there is the appearance of genuine Rati. She has genuine Rati for Krishna. Okay, Prabhupada, burnt existential ecstatic love is divided into three, and one example is as follows. One day, Mother Yashoda was dreaming that a gigantic demon Putana was lying on the courtyard of her house, and she immediately became anxious to seek out Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada says. Okay. Further now, Rup Goswami explains this. Kamporatya anugamitvad aso digda itirate. Since the shaking of a body accompanies the actual rati for Krishna, kampo rati anugamitvad aso, it is called digda. Because ultimately it leads to her Vatsalya attraction more for Krishna, because she is searching for Krishna in fear. The shaking of her body arose solely from seeing the dreadful dream. It was not because of the Mukhya or the Gaunrati. In verse 8, Yashoda's anger, second Rati, due to separation from Krishna, caused change of her color and choking of her voice. Note, Bhaya Rati is fear for Krishna's safety. She did not have fear related to Krishna until later. Her reaction to the dream about Putna can be considered as Anurasa. This will come up in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu northern division. That produced trembling in her body. However, she has real rati for Krishna at all times. Thus, the shaking of her body is classed as Digda Satvik Bhav. See, she was angry at Nand Maharaj, and that anger, which is a second rati, produced change of color and choking of voice. Now, this Ashta Satvik Vikar of shaking of the body was not produced either because of Mukhya Rati or Gaun Rati, but because of the dream. But it led to what? Rati towards Krishna. Because she has Rati for Krishna. So that's why she was searching for Krishna. Her Rati for Krishna, Vatsalya Ras, is always there at all times. But the Kampan happened not because of the Mukhya or the Gaun Rati, but because of the dream. Okay. Any questions on this? And have you understood this? Sadhu Sevana Prabhuji. Yes.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. My question, Prabhu, here is Putana, when she came in the dream of Mother Yashoda, still there was some fear. And then Mother Yashoda used that fear how my Krishna will be affected because of this demoness Putana. So some secondary rasa, which is fear, was there in first place, but then it was pointed towards Krishna's remembrance. Um,
The object there
mhm.
is Putana.
Okay.
The object there is Putana.
Okay. So as
The
long as it's
Putana's dream. That Putana's dream created the fear.
Mhm.
And the fear produced the emotion of, kampa, shaking of the body. So it is not directly related to the primary or the secondary in relation to Krishna. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Can I just try to take one more example to make my understanding better, Prabhu? Like,
Well, there are examples, there are many examples, but I think this one is very, very clear.
yes,
This is
yes,
very,
yes.
very clear.
Okay.
Okay.
Prabhu, for a small instance, like if we take a moon example, Prabhu, if I see moon and then I remember Gaur Chandra.
Huh?
So if I see the moon, full moon, and then I remember Gaur Chandra, right?
See, that is, you have to understand very clearly. You cannot just come up with some examples and try to understand the definition.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu.
See, when you see the moon, you remember Krishna. That is not to do with any of the discussions here, Snigdha. It is basically remembrance of Krishna, and that moon is acting as an uddipan for you to remember Krishna. Okay, so this will come in the Vibhuti Yoga. Rasom apsu kaunteha prabhasmi sasishuryo pranava sarva vedishu sabdake kaurisho vishu. How to see Krishna in this world, because all the manifestations. So that's again a different discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll take up Ruksha and then we will conclude the discussion for today. Ruksha. Madhurashcharya tad vartotpanner मुक्त विस्मा विस्मयादिभि जात भक्तोपमे भक्तोपमे रुक्षा rati shunya jane kvachit sometimes there is apparent sattvic bhav similar to those persons possessing rati jata bhakta upame appearing in persons without real rati shunya jane through astonishment of bliss. Mud, Vismadadibi, caused by hearing. Varta Utpanner, by hearing about Krishna Katha, about the sweet and astonishing Lord. Madhura Ashcharitat. This is called Ruksh Satvik Bhav. This is called as Ruksh Satvik Bhav. Okay, example. A person who is revealed to be devoid of rati ganya shunya, by absorbing himself, swam cheshtaya hridayam atra, in the pursuit of material enjoyment, bhogaika sadhana jusha, may develop vivarnatopi, hair standing on end, thus angam utfalitam maduras tadasit. There's some disturbance in the background. After being excited by Ullasina Sapadi, songs concerning the pastimes of Madhava Keli Gitas. So this person is devoid of rati. He's absorbed in the bodily concept of life and enjoying. But hair stand might hand on end just by hearing the songs and pastimes of Madhava. When there are manifestations of ecstatic symptoms in the body of a non-devotee, these are called dried up symptoms of ecstatic love. The non-devotees are actually materialistic, but in contact with some pure devotee, they sometimes may manifest some symptoms of ecstasy. Devotional scholars call these as dried up symptoms. Ruksha Esha Romancha. The hair standing on end, Romancha, which rise without real rati sunyatva, being present in persons is an example of Ruksha Satviki Bhav. Ruksha Ayam Katito Buday. Ratyabhas, which appears. Ratyabhas in persons desiring liberation, mumuksha, are described previously. Purvam, yo itrita, give rise to ruksha sattvic bhava. Ratyabhas means, rati means pure bhava or attraction for the Lord. Rati is bhava. Abhas means it's just a reflection, it is not real. So this kind of, Ratyabhas, those who are desiring liberation, the yogis, they might suddenly hear Krishna Katha and ears might stand on end. It's not that they have genuine rati, because they have desire for liberation. And this is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern Division, Bhava Bhakti, verse 44. And these kind of, Sattviki bhavas like hair standing on end, they are actually Ruksha Sattviki bhavas. Ruksha. A person with Bhava Bhas may show Ruksha Sattvik bhavas. Okay, so that ends the discussion on these three types of Sattvik bhavas. Snigdha, Digdha, Ruksha. So here it is smooth, smeared, rough. Bhaktivinoda Thakur used wet, moist, and dry. Prabhupada used, moist, uh, moist, and what did Prabhupada use? Prabhupada used a little different terminology. Yeah, I'm not able to recollect. Burnt, yeah. Moist, burnt, and dry is used. Correct. Okay, so we'll continue this overview discussion in the next class. For now, we'll end here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.